Start recording. Have the music playing. So we got about 3 minutes or so. Um, so just no. Just you can just relax. Yep. So what? It's like tranquil like hip hop. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. If you want to, it's up to you. If you want to. I mean, look. I mean, it's basically off the cuff. You know, whatever you feel comfortable with. Yeah, whatever you feel comfortable with. Test. Oh, hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're from. Happy Mother's Day, May 8th, 2022. We are here. Yes, I've been gone for a little minute, but been working on some things. As like I said, this podcast, something new for you. Got a little something, you know what I mean? Like a little something. Nothing too serious. As you can see, I got somebody over here, with a little bit of wisdom on them, trying a little something different, called the No, aka, that guy over there, and the think they know, which is me, as I always try to do, you know what I'm saying, like when I'm out here. But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, good sir. Let the people know who you are, anything else you want to talk about.
All right, this is Jay from the ATL. Trying to show this young man what's going on in the real world, how it looks through the eyes of the wise.
The wise, okay. Yeah.
The
The
wise.
wise, yeah, everybody in that generational bracket, you know what I mean, like not to get anything in particular as far as age, but just to be a little bit more PC so we don't ruffle any feathers, get anybody riled up or anything over here.
That's right.
But yeah, how you feeling, man? How you doing? You doing all
Oh,
right?
great. The weather, it got a little cool today, last couple of days, but hey, great. Sun is shining. Nothing but blue skies, baby.
Blue
Blue
skies, yeah.
skies.
The women out here getting ready, right? It's about that time.
Yes, they are. Yes,
it's
they
about
are.
it's
Yes,
about
they
that
are.
time, and with everything, the with everything that comes with that, there's something to really talk about here as far as like dating and in the chase and everything of that nature, especially when the weather's getting warmer for some parts of the world. I know it's still cold out there for some of y'all, but for us over here in the South, it is getting particularly warm. So, things are starting to get less and less worn, essentially, beach weather. But like it being as far as the dating, to circle back to that, it's more of like, what do you do as far as the interaction with the young ladies? Like, do you want to be genuine? You want to put on a show? Can they see through that? What do you think of it? What do you think on that issue right there, or that question, I should say?
Well, most of it is basically it's both. You get both.
Hmm.
Um, with the younger ones, little, you can throw the fake. I'm talking from a guy's perspective.
Right.
Nah, the guys throw the fake out there, the women bite. The younger they are, you don't have to use much bait.
Okay.
It's just, you got a few things, you look a certain way, you got the car, you got the clean shaving and all that, you got them.
Hmm.
Or show some money if you got the money.
Right.
But the more mature women, they can be, got just the same way,
Right.
but they they want to come to your house. They want to see how your house looks. So it's
Mm.
not just the instant. It's they got to see where you live and how you live. You can't be living with brother. Can't be living in mom basement. You can't. You just can't do that with the older women. But little do you know they live in but that's how it goes. So
Right.
how do you see how do you see it?
From what, well, I would say the older women or generation, however you want to look at it,
Hmm.
they're more direct with what they, their wants and things like that, because they're more established. Whereas people in my generation still tippy-toeing around trying to, figure stuff out and things like that, maybe dating multiple partners and just messing around, essentially, just creeping around, or however you want, whatever lingo you want to use for that. What you about? Go ahead.
So I mean, is that fake or genuine? Is it?
I
So
think
are they faking or are they
I think it's
genuine?
more so faking, to be honest with you. Like that's the I would say the older ones are more genuine than the ones in my generation, because it's more so faking. It's like, oh yeah, I'm interested, but let me see what I can get. Maybe a meal or whatever the case may be, if he has money or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying that's for everyone, but at least
Right.
from my encounters, that's what I've seen, or not so much me specifically, but from watching, being observant around my surroundings. It's just things like that I've come to be aware of.
That's right. And it's not all. And like you said, it's not
Right.
all.
Right.
It's some. But I'm gonna
Exactly.
use that term, mildly. That they want they want that stability, but they don't mind getting a free meal out of
Right.
it. Hey, they might not like this guy. They might not even want to do anything with this guy, build a relationship or anything. But hey, I got a free meal out of it, and I'll get another free meal from another guy that might want to talk to me and get to know me. So, but for me, it's that's I don't like that. I mean,
Mm.
I'm just not that type of person that I'm just gonna be out here giving you a free meal,
Right.
just for your presence. I mean, it's just kind of like going to the strip club without looking at the goods, you know?
Right.
So,
So would you say more so my generation is more less about dating with the intent to marry, or just serial dating? Or what's your thoughts on that?
okay, the whole dating aspect has
Mhm.
changed.
Right.
It's like I could shop like Amazon. I can go on Amazon, these dating apps, you just go on there and say, hey, okay, I like this with a big butt, this, this, and bam, I can pick and choose whoever I want. Back in the day, you might meet them in the grocery store, you're just out at the park, something like that. But now it's like, you know, I just swipe left, swipe right, whoever I want, and I think you lose something there.
Hmm.
You lose the who you are because it takes a lot for a man to walk up to a woman and say, "Hey, I'm interested."
Right.
Oh, I can swipe right and nothing said, and if she don't respond, my feelings not hurt. But if a woman tells you no in your face, that's a totally different story.
Right. So I guess the accessibility of well, the technology and accessibility of things we have now makes it a lot easier
That's
to
right.
engage with the opposite sex.
That's
Uh,
right.
so do you think it'd be easier for women to make the first move then, if that's the case, or should things be status quo? Because I know a lot of women nowadays are wanting women empowerment, everything like that. But do you think that should also apply to dating, or should things stay the way they are as far as men making the first move?
That's a twofold question, and I have different perspectives on each. Now, today's society, and even older people falling in, older generations falling in this as well, that it's easier for on the man side of it
Mm,
to have the woman make the decision. Oh, she likes me. Even on the apps, they hit the app, swipe right, whatever, and they respond back. So now that wall has been torn down. Now she's interested in me.
right,
But on the other hand, how many other people did she agreed to?
right.
You're just one of a list of others. So you don't need to pop your collar yet because you don't know where you're at. You don't know your standing. She might be just swiping, 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 just because, whatever the reason might
Mm,
be. Now, to formally uh, address someone and talk to them, I think requires more self assurance, um,
okay.
that you can actually hold a conversation, um, deal with this person at a level, whatever level they're at, and feel comfortable there.
Mm.
So that's my take on it. How the young perspective look at
The young perspective.
that?
I mean, you pretty much hit it spot on. Essentially,
Hmm.
it's having, like I said, having that access to everything makes it a lot easier. The chase is there's still a little bit of a chase, but
That's right.
it's definitely a lot easier when you know that they're already interested in you on the app with all the apps that they have out there, because you just match. It's like, okay, well, she's interested in me, so now that takes out half of the pressure.
That's right.
And just basically just ask her out at that point, or say something to keep her catch her interest. Um, I mean, at least for me, it is refreshing every now and then when a woman does say something,
Hmm.
because it catches you off guard a little bit, because you're always doing the first move and everything like that. So it is refreshing every now and then. Not saying that it has to be done all the time, but once every blue moon, she comes out with the hey, not a hey, how you doing, but it's like, hey, let's go out or something like that. But
Right.
at the same time, looking at the reverse of that, you're just like, well, why is she coming? You know what I mean? Like, why is she coming at me that kind of way or something?
If nobody
Like,
else want me,
exactly,
right.
exactly,
But, but and I think it takes a lot for them to step out,
right.
to put themselves out there. Um, you know, that old motto is, you're supposed to pursue me. That was the norm.
Hmm.
A woman feels that the man is supposed to pursue them.
Right.
Um, but today, I think that that's fall to the wayside
Hmm.
for the most part, or is falling to the wayside for the most part. And I don't see it as a bad thing when a woman pursues, the man. But like you said, it feels good. It feels good. I mean, as a man, to feel wanted in some capacity, you
Right.
know. But the thing is, I don't know how the women, it, if they could say no, why can't we say no?
Right.
But most men, out the kindness of their heart, they will accept it. They might not, pursue it.
Right.
They accept it and walk on. Women don't tend not to do that. They tend to, squash that guy immediately. Bam. No, I don't want your number. Oh, bye. Or ignore and walk off. So, but it's good to see that more women are stepping out their comfort zone and approaching the man.
Right. And so when I guess when everything unfolds and that time does come, if they decide to, step forward, get married, take things serious, uh, then I guess the next issue comes to how to work together. Not necessarily
Mhm.
work together, but what do you do as far as financials and other things like that? Because a lot of my generation, I would say, tends to more so play house than to get married first.
Right, right.
I see that a lot more often. They play house and then they roll into marriage and everything like that. Is what I guess, what your generation would say, play house. Um,
Yeah, playhouse. Exactly. That's exactly what I would say. That's
so,
exactly.
I guess in that instance, I would defer to you for this. What do you do as far as your financials? What is considered yours, hers, and then ours?
Okay. Now, is no hours if you're not married.
Okay.
Is yours. I got mine, you have yours. Um, if you're going to make that type of commitment, you need to be married.
Okay.
If you want to combine finances, you need to be married because if anything happens legally binding, you have no rights to it because you're not married.
Right.
Marriage binds it legally. So with that, you keep yours. If you want to play house, why play house? Just get married.
Okay.
I mean, it's just makes sense. But I know a lot of people. That's the new fad. Oh, I want to see if this person is marriage material or whatever. But I mean, you got to find another way other than jacking up. I'm totally against that. Not totally against it because it works for some people.
Right.
Um, but the thing about it is a lot of repercussions behind that they have to consider. They need to get things in writing. They need to get things in place more so probably than somebody who's married because the marriage automatically creates that situation.
Okay.
So for me, I just I don't recommend shacking up. How do
Okay.
your young bucks think about that?
Like I said earlier, it's pretty prevalent in my generation. From what I've seen, a
Mhm.
lot of people living together for a couple years and they get married. So it's not like get engaged. We're still living separate, and then we married, then we move in. But that you said something interesting, getting in writing. So do you think there should be an establishment of what gets divided if we're married, or is everything free game? Like for instance, if I'm going into a relationship with X amount of money from what I've
Right.
done personally,
Mhm.
should my significant other be entitled to that? Or is that my basically should a prenup like have that in the contract or in the written statement where I keep whatever I had prior to me tying the knot, and then she keeps what she has, but everything that we had together at that point, it gets split.
Okay, great question. My take on that is what you have before the
Hmm.
relationship stays yours,
Okay.
and then you start building. So if you got $100,000 in your account before you get married. That stays yours, but you start building. And I believe once you're in marriage, and this is marriage only, and I'm not trying to do this, you know, you can do this in shacking up, but I would suggest you do it in writing that you live off one income.
Okay.
You bank one income and you live off the other. And then that way you have in writing, even if you're shacking up, playing house. I'm going to
Excuse me.
use playing house. You're playing house that you split those proceeds in case of separation. That way, that person who was footing the bill 100% for everything doesn't feel jilted in a sense that all this money has been stacking up, and that should always be in a joint account.
Mm-hmm.
The so that's my take on it. I don't know how to think of it any other way and let it come out fair in the long run, if good or bad. The prenup, absolutely, but it's still obstacles. There's still loopholes in prenup. But if you got a joint account, it would be split between the two of you.
Okay.
So, but I always suggest marriage or shacking, playing house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm old school, so shacking is a term we use then. But playing house that you split, you live off of one income and you bank the other.
Okay. Well, and that leads me to well, that kind of segues into two different things. So I'll address one here first.
Mhm. Okay,
Like you were saying, one saves the money, right, and then
that's
you
right.
live off another income. So with that being said, does it matter who the breadwinner is in the household? Because I know a lot of times it's usually the man, and but if it is the woman in the household that's making the money, does that emasculate the man as far as like being a stay-at-home dad at that point? Like driving around in the is he driving around in the soccer van, going to get the kids? Is he doing the Kevin Hart cussing her out, slamming the car door? I'm just trying to figure that out. Does it, when it comes to that situation, what happens in that dynamic? Because the status quo has been the man is the potential breadwinner. The woman stays at home. But now, what happens when it changes? If that dynamic does change?
Well, well,
Oh, I
once you
lost you
get
for
a
a little bit.
minivan, once you get a minivan, your life is over. Once
Okay.
you're driving a minivan, your life is over. But no, on a serious note, yeah, that that is a very touchy subject because depending on your age group,
Hmm.
um, it is emasculating. Um, some people have the old school mindset of, look, I'm the head of the house, I make the most money, I run the show.
Hmm.
And not necessarily run the show, but everybody should rely on me.
Right.
And for a man, that makes them feel important and they're in their role. Um, Today, that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
You're going to have to accept that role that that woman is making more money than you, um, and the fact that the only way I feel to be not fall into that category
Mm.
is you're always striving to do better.
Okay.
Now, if you stop and be complacent,
Hmm.
then you will feel that way.
Okay.
But if you're still working towards your goals and building yourself, you have no time to feel that way because you know what you got in mind and where you're heading, and she's supporting you.
Okay.
For the most part, most women don't really even think about it. I would believe they really don't um, say. harbor any issues saying that you make less than me. I'm gonna belittle you or anyway. But if if they see that you're trying to grow and trying to better yourself, even if you don't make it there, it's just the process
Mm,
that makes you the man. It makes you responsible. It takes you to the next level. Just the effort. Um, I, I think you accomplish that and you relieve yourself of that stigma. If if you want to say, so I don't know how other people look at it, but that's how I see
I'm just saying, for me, I mean, you can sign me up if she wants work and I'll stay at home. I don't
it.
mind
That's
cooking. I don't mind doing the cooking, clean a little bit here and there. Play with the kids. That it makes life easier for me. I can do what I do. No, but
and I've heard the bad side of that.
right,
Kind of like you said, some people accept that. Okay, I'm good with it. I'm secure in myself. I can take that role. But when it's when it's sunny, it's good.
right.
And then when the storms come in, then you get called out. How you handle that?
Yeah,
You know,
that's a good point. That's a very good point. And I mean, what would you consider the case of being in the storm though? Well,
the storm is an argument, or if something falls short, or you
okay,
say no.
okay,
If you say no, I'm not going to do something.
uh huh.
Really, and you have a reason not to say no, but she don't see it.
Mm,
How you going to justify that?
right. Okay. I mean, that's very fair. That is very fair. And I think that is the one thing that probably needs to be discussed above all once you start
Right,
to get serious. But I guess
right.
that leads to my other point of that segue is how long do you, how long are you in a relationship before, you get to that conversation? Like, what is the time frame? Is there a time frame, or is it just whenever the time? Because I hear a lot of people say whenever the time is right. You'll know when the time is right. Blase, blase. And I'm like, there's no way. There
There's no
ain't no
way.
way. Ain't no way.
That's right. That's
Ain't
right.
no way. There has to be a time frame of when you're going to have that discussion. Because I've seen plenty of people like they don't they get in a relationship, don't say anything, and then everything
Mhm.
just goes to shambles. So it's just
That's right.
like, when is a good time?
The, the time to discuss what? Um,
uh like
Marriage,
marriage,
finances, what?
finances, everything before you start getting real serious. Like, do you make that discussion before you do like your engagements, living together, or do you do that right when you move in, or when do you think is a good time, coming from your perspective as a person of the older generation? I know you
That's
look at
right.
things a little bit differently than what we do. What do you
Right.
think about that?
Okay. So for me, um, women would tell you, "Oh, just be honest. Tell me immediately as soon as possible." But I think you just can't let yourself open to a lot of things immediately.
Mm,
You got to get to know the person. So what I'm saying is that process you're saying getting to know that person. Do you ever really know a person?
right,
I mean, do you ever really know? It takes a long time to really know somebody because everybody's putting their best representative forward,
right,
and they'll do it as long as they need to. So in that case, you just have to watch. You have to look for things. You got to look. If you calling me because your light is about to be turned off, I said this person doesn't handle money well. Or if the ex boyfriend is constantly calling you or calling you, even though you told him it's over,
right,
there's a lot of things going on that is behind the scenes. So that timeline changes based on circumstances that you observe. And you got to pay attention. You just can't have tunnel vision. Oh, she looks beautiful. she has a good job or whatever, and say, oh, she's the one. There's a lot of other little things you got to pay attention. You got to stay aware. So that timeline
Hmm.
for accepting or putting yourself, say, get down on that knee, bended knee, and say, hey, baby, would you be? It varies. It varies. It helps when they got their stuff together. It helps that they have a good day, but it varies. Because a lot of times they could be kept. A man's taking care of them.
Hmm.
You know, some man, but he's just a friend. He's just a friend.
Right.
But really, but he's doing all this for your friendship.
Right. Yeah.
You
The
know,
ulterior
really.
motives.
But for me, me personally, I would look at the big picture. I would look at, we'll talk about, just like what we talked about earlier. Are you willing to do this? Are you willing to live off of one income? It might change. You can't buy that bag, that purse, that $5,000 purse. You
Hmm.
can't get the hair and nails done every week. It might be 2 weeks,
Right.
a week and a half, you know. But those are things. Are you willing to work with me? You know, we things are going to change a little bit. I
Hmm.
mean, I know we have a lot more money if combined, but if we want to build, and that's another thing I want to point out as well. Building is for the youth. Establishment is for the older generation. You
Mm.
should always be established. Right now, you shouldn't be finding yourself. At our age, at my age, as young as I am, uh, you should you shouldn't be finding yourself. Now, your generation, look, you can build, but you know, you got years to build.
Right.
You have time. Time is the reason why you can build. When you start running out of time, you need to be established. To establish people, great. If you have to bring somebody up, not so great. So that plays a factor as well,
Hmm.
as if you want to, in that timeline. If I know her, she's trying to build her finances, then you're not the one for me.
Okay. Oh, so, and you brought up a good point, and just I was thinking about this when you were
Mhm,
speaking. Um, Living off the one income with
mhm,
everything that's going on now,
mhm,
I don't know if that is feasible
mhm.
with the way everything costs now. So I understand where you're coming from as far as your perspective being in that generation and everything like that, but I don't know if that can work in today's society, like in our time, essentially,
Right.
because of how expensive everything is, and like getting the if you have kids getting college shots, taking them to school and diapers and all that stuff. I don't know if that's really feasible off of one income. So how do you I guess the question is how do you circumvent that? But you know, it's a real slippery slope per se. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're looking at it from trying to live off of one income,
Mhm.
the person would have to be probably tripling the amount of how much everything would cost.
Wow, that's interesting.
I mean,
Interesting.
I'm just looking at it, from okay, if from my age, if
Right.
we put that out 20 years, everything's
Okay.
probably going to cost so much more than what it costs now. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Okay. So that's where you talk about investments. When you have investments, your money's making money for you when you sleep. So you put that in investments and in savings.
Mm,
Not all in savings, but you think about it. Let's say your wife makes $100,000 a year,
mm,
and you make $100,000 a year. You want to live a life of $200,000, and then one person loses their job. Now you can't even live
Right.
the way you're living, or you want to live at $100,000 and then have $100,000 banking. So if one person loses their job, you still can keep your lifestyle.
Mm. So you're
And
basically
then over 10 years, you're a
uh
millionaire,
so you
if
should
not
be
more.
investing prior to getting in the relationship then? Is
I
that what
should
you
I should encourage everybody to invest. You
mm,
should always invest. You
okay.
should always invest your money because that money is making money while you sleep.
Right. Right. And then well that leads to something else because you got to study the stock market and know what to invest
Oh
in and
yeah,
everything
yeah.
like
But
that. But
yeah, I don't manage that, but I have somebody that manages it. You know,
right.
I have an advisor
Uh,
who's managing my account. So
okay.
I
And
wish I started earlier as well too.
so you
Hint,
heard
hint, young man. Hint, hint, young man. Hint.
now you heard it here
I wish I
first.
started at your age.
You heard it here first. So leave a comment down below if you've already started investing or if you plan to start investing. Maybe Jay can hook you up. Um, but it's just really interesting the the difference in perspectives from, and this is going to go into something else that I feel a particular way about, as far as how your upbringing, like what you're supposed to do. Um, you're born, go to school, go to college, get married, etc., etc. Like that, I felt like that dynamics changed a lot as my generation has gotten older, but that was also enforced upon us so much coming up that there we looked at it as like there's no other avenues to make money until now. You have like you have YouTube, you have streaming, you have all these other platforms you can use to make yourself income. And so therefore I feel like some people may have resentment of being like, well, why did I go to school then? I went to school to get a degree that didn't lead me to a job, and now I have this debt. But here I am, my skills are being applied to something else that I didn't need to go to school for, and I'm making more money than I ever would have made. You know,
That's true.
it,
This is a
it,
totally different time. You're right. You're absolutely. And the thing is, I grew up with that. You know, go to college. You know, go to college. You know, you go to school.
right.
And every generation wants the kid to do something they didn't do or something that's very uncommon in their family. And, and education was always the main focus. Um, but there are other things too, skills, you
Hmm.
know, HVAC, you know, I mean, you have to go to school for that,
Right.
but it's a trade. Houses are being built. I think the focus has gotten away from those things because you might have to sweat a little bit to do it,
Hmm.
but they're very needed. I mean, and you could do well at it. And the thing is, like you said, technology. I mean, now, I mean, you could build a website and shoot, be a multi-million. And like Bill Gates and all these guys, they had some college, but they never finished.
Right.
And hey, who's going to say they're doing bad and that you had to have a college degree to be successful? So um, it's all relative. And my encouragement is if you love something and you're good at it,
Hmm.
people will pay you for it.
Right.
But I was in that mindset, go to school. I want my kids to go to school. I want them to go to college. I want them to get a degree, and be, but that's not society. The way things are now. I, I think if you put them in that bubble, um, you might be holding them back from their full potential.
Hmm. Because I know I have some people that I've known through passing,
Hmm.
that have gone to school, and then they're in debt, and 30, $40,000 in debt with a degree that didn't get them a job that they wanted. You know, they may have a degree, but they're working at Walmart or something like that. And so I'm just like, I'm looking at it like, well, why is all this stuff pushed upon us from our parents, the previous generation, to do all these things, and yet there's not a particular, not saying that there isn't verbatim, but for some people to look at it and like there's not a market for anything. There's not a market for us coming out of school to go into, or we weren't taught these particular skills in school to thrive when we hit the real world.
Absolutely. Just like finances,
Right.
that should be taught in school,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. And if most people manage their finances, they'll be doing great right now. They know how to handle their business, but they're not. And the reason why it's pushed is because a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've gotten to a point where they can do it for their kids. So they push it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't knock that because you want the best. You want the best for your kids. I
Mm-hmm.
promise you, a good parent parents want the best for their kids, but sometimes it can be overbearing. Just like even with sports,
Right.
you know they you know they force this kid into a sport. They drive them in the ground. I mean, the kid never gets a break because they want him to go to the pros. That's the same thing with school. Educated parent wants their kid to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
The kid might want to be an HVAC guy or electrician, but it doesn't require a 4-year degree. It's skills training,
Right.
and they're doing well at it. And for me, they're self sufficient. They don't have to rely on me
Mm-hmm.
to live. I'm good. I'm good. And the reason why I say that is because we put a value on it, but our parents put a value on us
Mm-hmm.
that we probably didn't meet. And if we have a kid that's intelligent, smart, we need to encourage it, fuel it, give it all the resources that it needs to grow. I know a lot of parents don't want to hear that. Some kids probably cheering, like, yeah, I'm glad somebody's saying that,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll be amazed what ideas we wouldn't even be where we're at right now today, talking and discussing this topic if it wasn't for someone like
Right.
that created this format. So no, I encourage the new age, but I'm not gonna knock a parent for wanting the best
Right.
and what they know to do. But if that child makes that decision, well, let's nurture it. As long as it's not hurting society or themselves, let's nurture it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And I would need to talk to more people in my age bracket to see how they felt, per se, about that. But that's just, like I said, that was something that I noticed just from a broad perspective of,
Mhm.
it's like, with the times changing, it's like, okay, you have all these avenues to make this money. Then I'm like, well, why was this beat over my head constantly?
Right, right.
Constantly beat up. You need to do this, you need to do that, or not necessarily need to, but I understand it's like, if I want to be a certain thing, I got to do X, Y, and Z. But it's just like it made it feel like, and I don't know if that's for anybody else that's out there, but it made it feel like that was the only option for me. I have to do this, and I understand, that's from the other generations trickling down, and y'all
That's
need to
right.
stop that. And so,
We might, but So what's the main things? Doctor, lawyer, uh,
like
what else? Engineer,
astronaut, um,
yeah, astronaut. Oh, hey, we're not going to shoot for the low level. We want you to be up
right.
here. We want the best, So it's not being realistic. Everybody can't be that,
Right.
but we do expect that. But it's just wanting more, just,
Mm.
just wanting the next generation to do better than we are. Even if we got there, let's say I'm an attorney. I would mind to be you know president, president of the United
Oh,
States.
I wouldn't want those problems. No, 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 no.
That's
No.
right, that's right, that's right.
I don't want those problems being president of the United States. I'm good.
So the bar is as high as the generation before
Mm. Yeah.
even though there's nothing wrong with what the other person is doing. It's just the bar is just higher. They set it,
Right.
and it could be to a fault, but it's set. It's still set. Still set. Still set.
I, and I guess with the way technology is evolving, is it a little bit more difficult? Well, I think it's easier to keep in contact with like your kids and things like that. But would you say
That's
it's
right.
more?
Awesome.
Would you say it's more difficult for your generation to adapt with how fast things are changing technology wise, or is it just like it is what it is and you just try to go take it as it goes, or
It is difficult because just like eventually you'll be where I'm at.
no, 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 no. I'm
And
gonna
I'm
be
gonna
on
say
top of
this,
everything.
and one day it could be 100 years from now, but you just I don't want to know that.
Mm,
I mean, I've learned all these things through the years. Now they're changing it again,
mm,
and they're gonna change it again. Remember it was DOS. You had to type out the programs. You had to type out the commands.
right.
Now, change change affects everybody differently. Change for you is like, oh man, this is a new software. This is a new form. Oh man, I could use this. I could do this with it. To me, it's like, man, I already got this down pat. Why change it? It's not increasing anything for me. It's not helping me because I already know something.
Mm,
Why do I need to change to something new when I already know something? If I know how to do it this way, the change is not going to help me. So you'll see it eventually. The youth will see it eventually, and you side us right now, but that's understandable. But it's just something new, and it changes so fast. It'll be here today, and then tomorrow something new.
mm.
And I mean, really, older people just don't care to learn anything else.
I think that's the main thing. I think that's
So
100%
take
the
something
main
that's
thing.
working. Why would you take something that's working?
Uh-huh. It's like, hey, this makes you look, I don't want to know it. It's like makes your life a little
That's
bit,
right.
hey, it makes your life, yeah, I don't want to know it. Okay, well, hey, you know what?
I'm just, it's the way it is, and you'll get there. I promise you, you will. And you'll laugh. You'll laugh. One of these days, you'll look back at this and laugh.
Well, I mean, me personally, maybe not, because I typically am pretty up to date on technology and everything like that. But somebody out there might be might look back on this and think it's hilarious. When we're in full 3D VR and everything like that.
I've had, coworkers and stuff, and they got the virtual lens, you do the automated,
Hmm.
stuff. And then they got broken bones, because, they use their kids' boundaries,
Right.
hitting the wall and all that stuff. So technology doesn't work for old people. It's nothing but broken bones and hurt feelings.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, it makes. I guess it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen regardless,
Yeah.
because that's the way the world works. You got to evolve. or you get
That's right. That's
you
right.
get left
That's right.
behind. But
That's
yeah, but it's been an interesting chat this go around. But if you guys liked it, please leave a thumbs up. You know, make sure to try to share it with at least one other person. It really helps us out. But Jay, is there anywhere you'd like to point the people to as far as like where they can reach you at or anything like that? Any websites you got? Any you want to promote or anything?
No, I got eSnap Kick. This is a COVID pin for the people who during COVID at every aspect of it. You know, from lost loved ones, just the heroes, the people who've been helping and um, supporting the people during this time. And I appreciate you going on the site, grab you a pen, giving it to the person you deserve. If you have a lost loved one, represent them with a pendant. Um, this eSnap Kick um, at esnapkick.com. Um, and that's it. But it's been a pleasure. I look forward to talking to you soon.
Absolutely, sir.
And I'm gonna teach this young man some stuff,
We'll
the
see.
no
We'll see
and
as
Dixie
we
no.
keep going. We'll see. We'll see. We'll be back. We'll be back next week, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode. The e snap will be in the link down below. And for those of you that are watching, that's why I'm doing my hands like that so you can see it. But for those that are listening, there will be a link that you can go to for the e snap pins. But anyway, I'm Tack. I will see you all next week, and I'm out of here. Jay, we will see you next week.
Peace.
You all take care. Have a great
Peace.
rest of your weekend. We're out of here.
Happy
Peace.
Mother's Day, everybody. Bye.